Now back at the forest, everyone was waiting for Jasmine to return from the fight. Her parents were even starting to get worried for her. I hope Jasmine's okay, Tom said. All we have to do is have faith for that little girl, honey, Sarah said, comforting her husband. Even though he was still asleep, Huey began groaning in his sleep. Jasmine, he said, before he became silent again. Riley notices his brother's sleep-talking and ran towards him. What did you say, Huey? He asked. Robert walked over to his grandson. What did he say, boy? He asked. He said something about Jasmine, Riley said. Jasmine? Our little girl? Sarah cried. Is she okay? Tom asked. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Du Bois. I am sure your daughter is okay, Robert said. We just have to have faith in her because Huey's counting on her. Tom hugged his wife for comfort as she cried. All the same time, Jasmine was just about to give up until she heard a voice. Jasmine? It said. She found out her voice of her faintly familiar voice. It just sounded like Huey. Huey, she asked. The spirit that looked exactly like Huey appeared in front of Jasmine. Is that you? She asked again. Of course, Jasmine, it's me, Huey, Huey said. His led young girl to happy, only to realize that she must apologize to him for getting herself defeated. Huey, Jasmine confessed. What to say? I'm sorry. I failed you. But Huey's spirit crouched down to the floor and placed his hand on Jasmine's shoulder. You didn't fail me, Jasmine, he said with a smile. The fight isn't over yet. You still have a chance to beat him. He took the katana from the floor and placed it in her hand. Within a matter of seconds, it began to glow a bright light as it could. As the sword glowed, Jasmine began to feel stronger and stronger. Go on, Jasmine, Huey encouraged her. Take that old son of a bitch down. Feeling that her strength was returning, she nodded her head. Stinkmeaner began to yell loudly and raised his cane. He was about to hit her with his trusty weapon. Jasmine managed to block it with the glowing katana. She angrily glared at the sad, strange man before getting up and breaking the cane in half by slashing the katana. By this time, Stinkmeaner was stumped. It could not come up with any more attacks. Aw, crap, he said. He knew that this girl meant business. He backed away from her and tried talking to her, just so he could convince her to not finish him off. Look, we can work this out, Stinkmeaner begged. I was just joking about the poison apple. Don't do this. I'm sorry, Stinkmeaner, Jasmine said. But you left me with no choice. She walked over closer and faster to the mean spirit. You poisoned my dear friend. He almost permanently sleep because of you. She pulled off the katana and yelled, Now I'll finish you for Huey Freeman. Without hesitation, Jasmine screamed and stabbed the katana into Stinkmeaner's heart. Stinkmeaner screamed in pain, while he extinguished into nothing but dust. After a cruel spirit disappeared, Jasmine felt very exhausted. She felt that the battle was quite epic. Enough yet to say the least. She got down on the floor with her hands and knees, tried to catch her breath. Huey's spirit appeared again and crouched down to talk to her. Well done, Jasmine, he said. You took Stinkmeaner down. Jasmine gasped for air a bit before responding. Thanks, Huey, she smiled, and Huey's spirit began to smile at her. Jasmine Du Bois, you have faced your quest with determination, courage, and strength, he said. You are now one of the greatest martial arts that roamed this world. He kissed Jasmine's forehead. Then, her normal clothes began to change into a Japanese kimono. She then got up from the floor and looked at her kimono. I look beautiful, Jasmine said. Thank you, Huey. It's my pleasure, Jasmine, Huey's spirit said. They shared a hug and stared lovely at each other. It wasn't very long before she began to notice that the sun was about to set. Oh no, Jasmine said. The sun is setting. I have to hurry. You may find me with our friends at the center of Woodcrest Forest, Huey's spirit explained. on the flower bed, holding the herbs and flowers, awaiting for my destiny. This is where you'll find me. Good luck, Jasmine. He then disappeared. Not wanting to waste any more time, Jasmine took the katana and began to make her way to Woodcrest Forest. Meanwhile, back at Woodcrest Forest, everyone was waiting patiently for Jasmine to arrive and rescue Huey. However, some people were starting to get bored. Riley was confused by this environment at the moment. Hey, I don't know what is this at this point, he said. Is this supposed to be a funeral? Robert looked at him and said, Riley, let me ask you a few questions. Does this look like a funeral to you? Riley then looked around the forest and the people around him. Well, it kinda does, he said. But do you see any black on our clothes? Robert asked. No, Riley said, shaking his head. Has Huey stopped breathing yet? Robert asked again. Riley looked at Huey, who was still asleep but snoring softly. Then he shook his head at his grandfather. And do you see any portraits of Huey? Robert asked one last time. No, Riley responded. Then it's not a funeral, Robert said. It's the awakening. The time Huey is bound to be free from the spell. Hey everyone, Uncle Ruckus announced. She's coming! Everyone stood up from their seats. They saw Jasmine in a kimono walking towards the group with a katana strapped onto her belt. Jasmine, Sarah said. She looks so beautiful, Tom said. Even Riley was flirting with the brave girl. Jasmine was so beautiful, he sighed, but Robert was having not to have his grandson flirt with his oldest one's girl. Slapped him in the back of the head. Ow! Riley exclaimed. Forget it, Buster, Robert said. She's with Huey. Riley gave his grandfather a scowl. Anyway, Jasmine walked in front of the crowd and took out Huey's katana. Ladies and gentlemen, she began. Lend me your ears. Uncle Ruckus threw a couple of fake ears at the front. Woo, I'm lending you my ears. Everyone looked at him with an annoyed look on his face. What? Uncle Ruckus said. I was just lending her my ears. My fake ones, that is, he chuckled. She means that she wants you to pay attention, you dumbass, Riley called, before was slapped at the back of his head by Robert. I'll handle it, Robert said. He then turned to Uncle Ruckus and shouted, She means she wants you to pay attention, dumbass. Oh, Uncle Ruckus said. Sorry. Jasmine continued her speech. I have finally defeated Colonel Stinkmeaner, she said. Today was a hard day, not only for me, but for all of us. You all worked so very hard to keep Huey comfortable, while I was fight to that evil, disgusting, heartless spirit. I want to thank all of you for what you did to my dear friend. She then turned to look at Huey, who slept peacefully. Now I must do what must be done, Jasmine said. She put the katana down to the ground and walked over to the flower bed. She looked at Huey and began to smile at him. Huey, there is so much I've got to say, Jasmine said. In every meeting we've had, I've gotten closer to you. I felt like we've been closer than we were before. Her parents began to tear up a bit, as well as the rest of the group. Even Riley was crying for a minute or two at this point. Sydney noticed and asked, Riley, you okay? I'm fine, Riley said. I just got something in my eye. Robert then took out his handkerchief and passed it to Riley. Here, boy, he said. Without any hesitation, Riley blew his nose before using it to wipe the tears away. Thanks, Granddad, he said, before handing the handkerchief back to his grandfather. But when Robert got it and it had snot on it, Gee, thanks, he said in disgust. Okay, Riley sniffled a bit. I'm better now. And since I have become an amateur martial artist, I am beginning to learn how to show determination, courage, and strength, Jasmine continued. After you saved me from the past, now it's my turn to save you. I love you, Huey Freeman. She then leaned closer to Huey, closed her eyes, and pressed her lips against his own, feeling enlightened to see her daughter having her first kiss. Her parents hugged and smiled at her. Jasmine looked up and lowered her head down to pray. Everyone was starting to pray along with the young girl as well. They were not sure if she was too late to save the young boy from his permanent slumber.